Hi everyone, Vickieverlie here, Rock and Roll Prophetess. Today we're going to take a look at the full moon in Sagittarius, which is kicking off the month of June. This is an inspirational psychic astrology reading, meaning I do base it in astrology, but I use it as a jumping off point, and I get intuitive or psychic downloads from my guides throughout the reading. So it's coloring outside the lines of traditional astrology quite a bit, but I use all the tools that are available. Alright, so here it is, the full moon in Sagittarius, and the thing that gets me right away is that it's sort of this lone star or this lone light, or I almost feel like it's the lighthouse, in the storm, beaming down light or higher inspiration on all this other things that are going on, because there's quite a bit of fixed energy. There's quite a bit of Taurus energy, but now as we've moved things into Leo as well, we're getting a lot of squares. If you want to take a look at the, quickly we can look at this aspectarian just as an overall view, but we've got square, 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 squares. And then we've got opposition, 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 opposition. So, even though Sagittarius is truly a very lighthearted and higher spiritual kind of energy, there's a lot of almost conflict or conflicting kind of, stronger energy going on all over the place. We've got to look at what Sag really is. See, of course, it's the moon in Sagittarius opposing the sun in Gemini, therefore creating the full moon. But the Gemini is the mind, and it's the monkey mind. It's the everything we do every day mind. It can, on the downside, it can be gossip, and that kind of thing. But the Sagittarius is taking that to the higher level. The Sagittarius energy rises above, it transcends, it's open-minded, it wants to see the world, it wants to embrace the difference, vive la différence. It wants to bring through the differences. It's not so, we're in our small little group and we're talking. I always equate it to a bunch of cackling hens. So that this is the downside of the Gemini energy. Of course, Gemini is beautiful energy. I have many Gemini friends. I'm not knocking at my gems out there. But the downside of it can be the cackling hens, and then the Sagittarius, that's soaring into, I was going to say like the soaring eagle, but it's even higher. It's like soaring into outer space, So big difference there. But we can use the full moon of the Sagittarius energy to perhaps pull us out of a lot of this fixed energy, because there's the potential for some conflicts going on here. Before we get into all the squares and everything, but let's take a look at what is happening in this Taurus energy, because one of the most beautiful things here, well, let's start here, because what I was just talking about, also, Uranus, technical book astrology, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Uranus is outer space. And these two are joined together. So it's as if we can have this bridge from the lower to the higher mind, if we can find the space to access it. Sometimes when there's a lot of conflict going on, and it's particularly in the fixed energy, because the fixed energy, which I'm talking about, is of course even we're going to bring Pluto and Aquarius in. It's this not wanting to change, being fixed, being stubborn. Those are the downsides of the fixed energy. So being really stubborn, but we can try to see things from a higher mind, because the full moon is in the sign of Sagittarius, and also because we have this joining together of the Mercury and the Uranus, the lower mind and the higher mind. My little neck of the woods versus the whole world at large, kind of with both of these energies. But another thing, really the first thing that grabs me, can be a huge positive at this time frame, is we do have the Sun or Jupiter conjunct the North Node. It's closing into a real tight orb, and this is super positive if used properly. We could really take this fixed energy, because the North Node is the collective unconscious. It's our true calling, our true north. It's something that I rely heavily on and look into real deeply. And when I do the soul readings, where I look at your past life and your soul mission, the node is a major player in that, as always. But when we're looking at the transiting node, it's us as the collective, us accessing our higher mind. And Jupiter's coming in. And Jupiter, by the way, is the ruler of Sagittarius. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Therefore, it's the ruler of this entire full moon. Jupiter is ruling the full moon, okay? And the planet Jupiter is, transiting is conjunct this north node. So Jupiter is an important part of this just because of that, because it rules the full moon itself. Jupiter always brings excess, abundance. So in some cases, it could be a case of being excess, being fixed, being overly fixed. And with all these squares, we don't want to get into that mode. You got to remember too, in the sign of Taurus, Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. And Venus, of course, is love, beauty, music. I'm hearing something, it could be music to your ears. There could be things coming through that would be music to your ears. They're saying music to your ears, one and all. So the other thing is the node moves backwards. Where everything else starts at 0, like Pluto, and moves up, up, up to 29 and then changes sign, the node goes backwards, goes down to 0, and it's moving in the opposite direction. So it being at 3 degrees means it's nearly at the end of its journey of Taurus. It started its journey of Taurus at 29 degrees, about a little over a year and a half ago, and now it's ending its journey. Another thing is, when a planet gets ready to change signs, it gets really more powerful, and it really gets more in its essence, and it really shows you. It can also be the gift, even with Jupiter not being involved. When the planet or a transit gets to the very end of its journey, it will leave a gift, a parting gift, Here's your parting gift from the planet Taurus, or the placement of the planet Venus and the placement of Taurus, whatever. But here's another thing, with Jupiter being involved, Jupiter also will bring a gift. So there is a gift, amidst perhaps the chaos, amidst perhaps the fixity, if that's even a word. Amidst all this fixed energy and potential conflict, there is a gift. And if you can embrace the higher energy of the Uranian energy and of the Sagittarius full moon energy, you can soar above, you can transcend this, you can see the beauty, you can see the love, you can hear the music of your soul's calling, which is, a good summation kind of the North Node in Taurus, the music of your soul's calling. You can hear the muse, even, they're saying. So the other thing is, though, and we've got to talk about it, and here's one more thing about it, though. Yes, Mars is squaring that, and that's what I was going to move on to next. But before we move on to Mars, look what else is squaring it almost exactly in this chart, the part of fortune. Now, the part of fortune is just an astrological calculation. It's not a planet in the sky or anything. But I have found, and when I do personal readings, I do look at your part of fortune. I do look at that, because that is where you're going to have fortune. And the Jupiter working with the part of fortune, it can be a real game changer. It can be a real game changer. Another thing, my very first astrology teachers always said is that squares make things happen. So people, a lot of people are, ooh, squares, it's going to be conflict, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Squares make things happen. If you've got like a Venus-Jupiter trine or something like that going on, you go, oh, that's so lucky, that's so good, but you might just have an easy day. It just might be an easy breezy day, and you might not be motivated to do anything, or there's no impetus to spring into action or do something. So squares make things happen inwardly and outwardly. So it could be inwardly, where you're just like, I've had enough of this, I've got to do something else. You do it out of being maybe fed up or frustrated. But there's also the chance that there's some outside event that occurs, that you're kind of forced out, you're forced into making a change, you're forced into making, turning a corner. Because I know the squares, they don't illustrate them that way, but I always do see them like a 90-degree angle, like a square. So you're coming down this path, you're traveling along, singing a song, bye, bye, bye. Isn't that it? If you've not seen my videos before, the guides do come through with music often. I am the rock and roll prophetess because I'm a lifelong musician, and that was my first form of channeling ever, was through music. So that's how they communicate. Often there's a side by side, that's what it is. But you're traveling along, and all of a sudden there's this fork in the road. There's this sharp turn. You can't go in this same direction anymore. The road ends. So you're forced. You're going to have to make a turn. But it's a turn for the better, and it's a turn of the page, is what they're saying, and into the exciting new chapter they come through with. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's only when you go into fear mode. It's only when you go into the lower part of your mind, because this mental stuff is so prevalent here. And with the Mercury in the sign of Taurus, your mind can get really fixated on something. You know, you might be rolling it around and around and again, and you just can't. If you find yourself, you know, saying, even in your own mind, saying that same argument over and over and over again, it's time to break free of that pattern. Because if it's bringing up a lot of anger and frustration, that's not what the universe is trying to do for you here. We have to look into the fact that Mars is very active in this chart. Okay, Mars is squaring this North Node Jupiter thing, and a pretty tight orb, 4-degree orb. Well, Mars is doing a whole bunch of stuff. What else was it doing here? Where's our Mars? It's squaring the nodes, too. Yeah, we just talked about that. It's opposing, it's squaring Jupiter. I guess not. Oh, wasn't it trining and involved in a grand trine, I thought? I saw a grand trine of fire. There is a grand trine of fire, but I want to talk about this first. So, you may be a positive way to use this energy with the Mars energy is to be really motivated. Like, I'm just going to tackle that project. I'm just going to get her done. And I'm just, you know, I have a lot of energy and a lot of drive and ambition to align with this true north. I hear your call, universe. I hear the call. Mercury, I hear it. Uranus, I hear it from the higher realms. You know, I want to explore it further with the Sagittarius energy. But you may have this drive and ambition to, like, let's just get down to it. Let's just dive in. Let's just get her done. I'm going to bust it. Kick ass and take names. You know, kick ass and take names and get her done. Secondly, though, there is a grand trine in fire, because the Mars and the Pallas, even more closely, but Pallas, of course, is an asteroid, trining the actual full moon point itself, and, of course, sextiling the sun, but then we've got the full Monty? We got the full Monty, or the full triangle, or the full, grand trine in the fire sign energy. So talk about being motivated, talking about getting into gear, because the fire signs are action oriented, especially the Leo energy. You know, the Mars in Leo, yeah, there's a lot of downsides. I have Mars in Leo natally. You know, there's a lot of downsides, and I'm well aware of them. But the Mars in the Leo is like, let's not sit around, you know, whining and crying. Let's get to it. And Leo energy in general is not one to hold a grudge, even though it's a fixed sign. It really isn't. They'll laugh it off. You know, a lot of Leos don't get offended real easily, not usually. Sometimes, you know, maybe Mars and Leo. I heard another astrologer saying that Mars and Leo, you know, doesn't like when you challenge their integrity, and you know, as a Mars and Leo native, that's definitely true. I was told years ago when I had a past life reading that came through, and somebody said, that's because I was a knight in the round table, and I swore an oath of, whatever, integral oath or something, you know, to uphold and be all right, not righteous, but you know what I'm saying. And so, you know, that does resonate with me to a degree, but, you know, I'm a different animal altogether. That's my one Leo placement. I got a ton of Scorpio, so I can go there. But, you know, people that I've known, like my mom, for instance, who has a ton of Leo in their chart, you know, and they're just fun. They'll laugh it off. They can get pissed, and they do get mad, but more so they'll take the high road. Let's go have a laugh. Let's go have a drink. Let's go have some fun. They'll crack a joke rather than take it personally or let it sink in and resonate. You know, they're out to have fun. They're out to have a good time, because after all, the 5th house, which is the Leo rulership of course, you know, that's all about laughter, fun, childlike play, creativity, you know, doing creative fun, having fun. So we've got this full moon, and we've got this Mars energy, so we're raring to go, we're raring to do something, but then it's trining with the Chiron. So the Chiron, of course, is these wounds where we wound ourselves over and over and over again. And it's, you know, while it was in the sign of Pisces, we became aware of it. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water real quick. Excuse me. You know, it was, we became aware of it, innately aware of all the wounds, and it could lead to some wallowing. So we're done with the wallowing. Let's take a different approach to these wounds. If we've always, if our, these could be even our trigger points, you know, what triggers us. If you're getting triggered by a certain thing, maybe it's time to take that role of laughing it off, or stepping outside and looking at it from a different perspective. Not as the small self, as the victim, but as the wider self or the higher self from the soul's perspective. And in the 9th house and in the sign of Sagittarius, it's all about learning, and Jupiter as well. What have we learned from this transit of Taurus through the nodes? What can we learn from these trigger points? What is our soul trying to make us aware of or show us? What can we learn from it? Why are we experiencing this in our incarnational journey? It's not to be because we're the victim, and because the Chiron energy can pull you into that victim. Leo will rarely go to the victim. Leo is ready to take the reins and, you know, steer their life in the direction they want to go. But we're bringing in the higher guidance. We're bringing in the soul speak energy. We're bringing in our higher self, our inner knowing. And we're asking the questions. If you get stuck in this, I'm so pissed at them, there they go again. They always do that, blah, 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 blah. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Put a different ending on it. There you go. Because what I was really hearing is 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your stinking more. Da 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 da. Anger, anger, ba ba ba. You know, and then so that shave and a haircut, 2 bits. You know, change. It's kind of the same. Da 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 da. You know, it fits. They're 2 parts of the whole. They're 2 parts of the same song. They're 2. It's a different part of that same frequency that's, you know, being pounded through. Excuse me, I need another drink of water. My throat's going here. So, take a sad song and make it better. You know, to quote Paul McCartney. Take a sad song and make it better. Take action. Do something about it. All this, you know, these squares and this full moon, it can help us, it can shine a light on. It can shine a light on how we are stuck and why we are stuck. And it can give us inspiration or ideas to go in an alternative direction. If you get too stuck in it and you're just not interested in hearing it, you know, then, you know, the universe will throw that sharp curve in your way. Could you know, it's the old where you know, first the universe is throwing little pebbles, and then if you're not listening, they're going to start throwing some boulders, you know. This could be a boulder thrower here, if you let it. That's the beauty of the whole set. It's like breaking this up. It's giving us a break from all this fixed square, I don't want no stinking more, you know, all this marching into whatever, you know. It's a different kind of vibe. The other thing is it is squaring it with the Saturn. You've got a square with the Saturn, the 2 squaring over with the Saturn at 7 degrees of, but another interesting point. Now, I normally don't even incorporate the vertex, but I use them in people's charts. But the vertex is a kind of a part of fortune-ish energy. I've noticed when things go over that vertex, that's a turn of fate. It's a fortunate turn of fate. You know, little things could happen that, you know, just totally give you this new thing, this new idea, this new, where you can see a new avenue, you know, a new horizon. But that aside from the vertex, let's just talk about the, you know, the planets and stuff here, or the luminaries. You know, Saturn. Saturn is also wanting us to make you know, not necessarily make a change, but get behind something solid that's going to be, the word altruistic is coming through. So, you know, this altruistic view of you know, humanity, but also your own life's calling, your own soul's purpose. Because many people, you know, are not following their soul's purpose, and I feel like that was the whole pandemic that was made people aware of it. When they didn't have to get up, and when they were unplugged from the daily grind, they kind of realized what their true soul's calling is. And many people are changing their lives around. Saturn in Pisces can give feet to or legs to something that's real out there in the Pisces land, out there in the Neptune land, out there in the dream world, something that was just a fantasy. Saturn wants to really make it a reality for you, if it's feasible. Saturn's not going to get behind if it's not feasible, or not really part of your own karmic path with Saturn, the Lord of the Karma, you know, you're going to keep meeting up with frustration, until you say, oh, stop banging your head against the wall, bang, 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 and say, okay, well, maybe I need to go this way, you know. And then Saturn's there to help with this energy. It's at this, you know, we have the ruler of Pisces at 27 degrees, and we're still trining this Lilith Venus. So this is absolutely a thing of making dreams come true, absolutely. And we can even tie in Pluto, because I like to just write it like this, because it's still but it's retrograding back. It's going to be, so we could tie this one in too, and the Venus opposing the Pluto. You know, Venus opposing Pluto Lilith here, big changes could occur. And again, it's this Venus energy, because Venus rules, it's here, but it also rules over Taurus. And what else does Venus rule over? Why am I drawing a blank on this? Oh, Libra. Venus rules over Libra, yeah. So there's a strong Venusian energy, and it's working in this water energy with the sign of Neptune, strong in its own sign. We've also got Neptune opposed Ceres. So there's another thing, it's like a bridge. The bridge over troubled water. Because here's Neptune and water, and it's all dreamy, and it's out there in la la land, just, you know, never never land, kind of in the dream world. But here we have Ceres, the goddess of the grain, also kind of a Saturnian energy, very much grounded in the earth, very much wants to give you abundance and make things happen, especially in the sign of Virgo, because I feel that Ceres might be the true ruler of Virgo, or perhaps it's Chiron, you know. But Ceres has, I feel, a strong connection, or strong akin, you know, bonding to Ceres with Virgo. But this wants to give you abundance in the material world, and they can work together. There's, you know, there can be this bridge between, you know, the spirit world and the physical world. The bridge over the troubled water, that's what they keep coming through with. The guides keep coming through with the bridge over troubled water. I will lay you down like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay you down. Yeah, that song is a beast to sing. I remember having to sing it in choir or something years ago. That's, I mean, you need a big range for that one. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But when I said you need a big range, you know, I think that's kind of the key to this whole time frame and this whole chart. You know, because with the fixed energy, you can be really narrow-minded, fixated, have your blinders on. You've got to open up your scope, or open up your the spread of possibilities, the spread of pathways that are before you. You didn't come to Earth in an incarnation to be frustrated and angry and stomping your feet, and, you know, and yeah, everybody says, well, you've got to work hard to get what you want. But some people take that as, if I just work a little harder, maybe you're just going to burn yourself out, or you keep banging your head against the wall. Maybe you're just going to get a headache. Working hard at something you love is not draining your life force and killing you. It's invigorating you. And you can, those are those times when you're working on something and hours go by, and it's just like, where did the time go? Where it doesn't feel like work. That is what our highest aspirations are. That is what Venus energy, to be creative and to be comfortable. Taurus is, if you think of the Taurus energy, Taurus doesn't like to be, you know, they like to be comfortable. They like the finer things in life, the luxuries of life, but obtained in a peaceful way. You know, you think of that bull in the field, Ferdinand, smelling the flowers, you know. That's what this energy is trying to lead you to, you know. And even with all the Venus in Cancer and then Neptune, you know, that brings to mind flowers too. You know, let your flower bloom. Let those petals open up. It's so, if you want to watch, I think it was it the May reading? Where I had it was a May horoscope, and when the Taurus energy, well, I found out what it was, they opened to light, but it just seemed so magical. I brought in some tulips, and during the Taurus reading, they just, opened up to, didn't even look like tulips anymore, just completely, the buds just completely open. And I think that's like a universal message for the Taurian, which is, the Taurian energy is, you know, make no mistake, it's still super strong in the skies, because we've got this big lineup here. This is all Taurus. It's the most prominent thing that's going on right now still. And so that was this message that, you know, that's the highest calling of the Taurus energy, which is what we're all achieving with the North Node transiting through there and Jupiter joining. What we're trying to respond to the highest calling of the Taurus energy. And in a nutshell, it can just think of it as the fully blossoming, fully opening up to our true potential, our true soul's song, our true soul's creativity. All right, everybody, I wanted to show you if I can get this thing to cooperate. If you haven't seen it already, I put a lot of my art into one of my old Etsy shops. I had like 8 or 9 of them back in the day before my YouTube channel took off. And since the pandemic, one of the things talk about getting back to your true soul's calling, I really got back into art in a big way during the pandemic. And I have all this new artwork, and a lot of it's really spiritual. So, you know, I have a lot of prints, and they even come in notebooks. I have astrology notebooks and different prints, and I think even pillows too. But if you want to check it out, it's VV Creative, and you can find that link in the description. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I am open for the solstice reading. It's coming down to the wire, and many of you have been ordering it. I want to thank everybody who has. But if you enjoy this type of reading more, the psychic astrology reading that I do, well, that is what the solstice reading will be. It's a look at the solstice as it pertains to your chart. It's a mid-year check-in. It's not only about the 0 Cancer solstice point, it's about everything that's happening in your chart at this moment. It's one of the only astrological predictive readings, and it might be probably looking like it's going to be the last one for the year, because I've got some other ideas for some things that I want to do in the fall. So I'm thinking I may not offer the equinox fall reading, or September one if you're in the southern hemisphere. So this may be the one for the year, and I never do offer the winter one because I'm so busy with the year aheads all the time and at that time frame. So if you like this style of reading with the psychic astrology, the solstice reading is going to be it. As beyond that, though, if you prefer the card readings more, then theirs are available. You know, I do have 2 different types of card readings available, as always, on my website. But yeah, here it is, the full moon in Sagittarius. Let's take that highest energy. Saturn is the teacher, but also the Sagittarius energy is the teacher, the student, and the teacher. Where can we learn more? Where can we grow? How can we really come into our true soul's blessing and open our flower of life to its fullest bloom possible at this time? All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Remember that you are love and beauty incarnate. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like and all that stuff, because your interaction triggers the YouTube algorithm, and it is so appreciated. It costs you nothing. Have the best full moon ever. Reach for the higher mind. Reach for your true soul's calling. We'll talk again soon.